So hi, welcome to the Good Noise Podcast. I'm Shane,
I'm Glory.
and we're here with.
Ben Wesson.
Andy Rodesny.
And
We're
we're-
loose ends.
And we're gonna ask some questions today. I'm gonna start. So, what inspired you guys to start the band, and what does the band name mean?
I guess I'll take that one. Ben and I were in some musical projects prior to. We were in a band called Kid Liberty, and went on to do a few other projects that kind of toggled, and just felt like we had some unfinished business, or at least I did some unfinished business with music as well as a lot of life endeavors, both creatively and personally, and just wanted to tie up said loose end. So I just ran with the last two of that and formed the band. And then what was the second part of that question? Just want to make sure I'm clear on the answer.
What inspired the creation of the band, and then the band name meaning?
Really what inspired the creation of the band was just the fact that I'd worked with Ben and Kyle and Matt, the other two guys that are part of our project before. I had some songs loosely written, and no pun intended. I had some songs loosely written and wanted to tighten them up a little bit. So reached out to Kyle, and what started as more of a passion project and something along the lines of a hobby, grew legs after the initial production process. I reached out to Ben and proposed him jumping on as a vocalist for it and bringing the strengths that he possesses in songwriting in that realm, and tied it all together.
All right.
Solid. All right. So congratulations on your newest release, Love and Heartache. How do you feel the response to it so far?
I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Good.
It's pretty exciting to finally put this out like a good production. We've been waiting for so long to do that, just to kind of share with everybody what we've been talking about. So we're pretty happy about it.
Hell yeah.
It's a banger. I loved it.
So, is there any meaning behind the single name or the cover art?
I'll let Ben take the name on the single there. He titled it. So
As for the name,
Mhm.
what is the question again?
Is
For
there
the
any
single.
meaning behind the single name?
Mhm.
Well, it really just has to do, kind of with what the song is about, just kind of just grouping it all together, as it can mean various things, but really it's finding love in heartache, and
Mhm.
that's kind of a thing that you almost don't want to do as a person, but also sometimes end up doing. And as far as the contrast, between the verse lyrics and the chorus lyrics, and how the ending shapes up the whole song, I kind of just felt like the name was perfect for it. I kind of went back and forth and was like, oh, can I come up with something cooler or whatever? But it just kind of kept on coming back to me, and I was like, what a better, there couldn't be anything better for a name for that.
Mm-hmm.
Solid.
And the cover art, is there any meaning behind that?
yeah, I'm really into traditional tattoos and stuff like that anyway, and we use the swallow as the bird on there, and just kind of how free and purposeful that bird tends to be in building its home
Mhm.
and what it does. But also at the front of its beak is a needle and thread. So I just thought it was a unique take on something that had been used over and over in so many forums, for whether it was bands or just tattoo art in general. Simplified it, gave it a little texture, and decided that was going to be the album cover art. It was originally, the original album art was a friend of mine who now lives in Italy sent me it was such a gnarly photo. She took a photo of somebody went to throw out a fish, like this giant fish. I don't even know what kind it was, but it was this messy, kind of an attention grabbing photo that from a poetic standpoint really looked it had this impact to it. And I thought, man, how metaphoric for
Mhm.
life. Oh man, you didn't even quite get to the trash. You just got
Yeah.
ripped up on the way in.
Yeah.
And then I thought about it, did a little crowd testing, and felt like it was a little too aggressive for what I was going for. It looked more like
Yeah.
a metal album cover or something, which
Mhm.
would have been rad. But I decided to soften it up and go with a little more of my personal creative touch and artistic approach. So
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I
So-
guess you guys just have to make a metal album now.
Yeah. The
Yeah,
black
but
the black
I'll see if
metal
I can
album
make
You've already got a cover art for it.
Yeah.
Me and Ben already have ideas, but I'll see if I can email you guys the original photo of this. It's still a cool picture. Maybe I can find somewhere to use it, but we'll see.
All right.
Yeah.
Maybe not
It
for
does
this
sound-
project.
Yeah, exactly. Can you tell me a little bit about your writing process for this single?
Ben?
Well, I mean, I kind of feel like that really starts with you.
All right.
Just back
You
and
know.
forth.
Here you go.
So, I play a lot of different instruments, but not in any traditional context. Like I wasn't taught guitar or piano or any of the instruments that I play. I kind of taught myself. So, what I'll do is I'll come up with a riff or an idea maybe on piano, and then I'll get the riff down on guitar to a certain extent, and maybe build on that over a really long period of time. I like to think it through and really find different adaptations to extend on. But then I'll send a video to Kyle, who is our guitarist and also producer on this whole record, and have him input what he wants on it, or give me some pointers on what direction we think we can go. And we essentially construct the entire song instrumentally and sonically that way. And then I'll throw the general idea to Ben, and then he'll come in with some lyrics to lay over it or have an idea for it that way. And we kind of go from there. So what Kyle and I do is at least with this record, is we've gone in and produced instrumentally everything in overall song structure, how we want it to feel, how we want it to sound, really looking into different tones and textures, little nuances and ambiance, a lot of layering and building into these 5 songs. So there's a lot of experiential elements that went into it. And then when I sent Ben Love and Heartache, the initial or the first track that we wanted to be the single, which our working title was titled, we called it Butt Sauce. We couldn't come up with any other, like,
Did you just say butt sauce?
yeah. I'm almost reluctant to even throw that out there, but no, because when you have working titles, you're not even sure what you really want to call it. So it's like identifying what song you're talking about in different variations of conversation or different levels of one, depending on who you're talking to.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get, well, what song are we even talking about? And it's like, well, you have to come up with something really wild and off the.
Yeah. So imagine what it looked like whenever I opened that file to like try to put my piece on it, and I was like, this is titled Butt Sauce. But it turned out to be really awesome, and then from like that point, like as far as like writing and my process goes, like I kind of have like a vibe. I feel like, with Andy, after all this time, that I kind of know and like feel that we're going to be on a good amount of same page as far as feeling for the song. And, ultimately gave me an unreal good canvas to work on as far as like lyrically and melodically and all that. And I just really was able to sit there and just put headphones in and kind of close my eyes and really write these words and like just kind of really base it off of like a heart feeling, and then just kind of shifting between like that going to like, trying to be mechanically sound as far as like, like what's gonna work out for a melodic structure and is gonna sound good, like not only hit the heartstrings but also like be kind of like cool or clever or whatever.
Yeah.
And Andy came in with some input as far as like what I was doing too, and it really just kind of wrapped up that. I know that's a lot for the writing process, but that's like our favorite thing. We enjoy that. It's like a huge puzzle that we get to put together and like then shape and then reshape.
Yeah.
I know for some bands the working titles do make and wind up being the real title for the song. I don't know if I'm upset or happy that Butt Sauce isn't the title for this song.
I feel like Butt Sauce would have dropped this song before it ever got anywhere.
Oh my god!
I don't know what to think of that. Like,
I think a lot of people will click on it and be like, this Scotty fucking garbage. Fucking Butt Sauce.
Butt Sauce, yeah.
So where is your headspace at while you guys are writing this song?
Ooh. I'm actually interested to hear Ben's take on that as far as the lyrical approach. I can get to mine. for sure. But I don't know that I've actually heard Ben dive too far into it.
You have the floor, Ben.
All you, Ben.
Well, I've talked a little bit about that, you know, as far as like the love and heartache. You know, when it comes to like writing like a song or just like multiple songs, you know, working on things cohesively, like I generally like, you know, have an idea and it usually goes like to another spot. Like sometimes like I'll start out in like one headspace of like, you know, feeling good, but then the music will bring me to another space, and then like I'll feel a different way about that.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as like my headspace, you know, it's been like a trying year for everybody, I suppose, and I will say like this was definitely like a good outlet for me to utilize like after work, like stress time, and like thinking about just, you know, everything in general, and thinking about like, you know, things that have to do with my life and like things that also have to do with Andy's life, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, others around me. And so like I kind of just, it's really hard to like say exactly like where my headspace was, but like I definitely was pulling in a lot of emotions like from my personal life and like observing close people around me, like such as Andy and, you know, others I have here at home.
Solid. All right.
Yeah, I'll follow up and echo a little bit about what Ben's saying. I mean, as far as the sonic experience and what we crafted instrumentally, you know, a lot of what you guys are going to hear on the remainder of the album, it's kind of a culmination of experiences over the last decade of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to break it down numerically or by average, it's every 2 years something big or life-changing happened. As recently as 4 years ago, my very best friend, who was a brother to me, quite literally, was murdered in a horrible domestic violent situation, and it was a process. I actually live with his family here in Southern California at the moment, and it was quite a moving thing in a lot of ways, but very, very kind of put me in a dark space for a long time, and I really had to work through a lot of things that I don't think people generally have to experience when in regards to losing somebody. It's just it's such a unique thing, and then of course you have to follow up with a trial and that sort of thing. So a lot of varied ebbs and flows and emotional ups and downs with all of that. You're going through a grieving process. Things that you see and learn about that incident are very impactful on a level that I would never wish on any human being. And then later, I was diagnosed bipolar shortly after that. So it was a lot of ins and outs with that. I speak very openly about mental health, and so I don't have any shame or shyness around saying it out loud. In fact, I'm working through a lot of that at the moment. And then all the way up to last summer, when we started crafting these songs in the first place, like really applying them to a recording process, was going through, like Ben was saying, I think over 2020 and going into 2021, you know, COVID-19 really impacted a lot of my life personally. I had very good trajectory and a career in textiles here in LA, and I have my own brand as well. And, you know, the world got put on hold, and it was just a lot of an empty feeling on like who I am, what I'm doing. I realized that I had put a lot of stock in who I am based on my work and what I'm contributing, and having to relearn and change my perspective on who I am in a way that doesn't that my work doesn't reflect. My work is just my work, whether it's music or whether it's what I do professionally to keep my lights on and that sort of thing. So having to separate those two, or learning to separate those two for a better, healthy mental space was pretty critical. And a lot of that you're going to hear on this record, as it pertains to the loss of my best friend and my brother. We have a song on that as well. It's the only acoustic song on the record, and we really layered in a lot of, wind tones and this very haunting sound to it, marching snares at the back end. So you get kind of a mid-90s Smashing Pumpkins kind of feel to it, but in this very modern Story So Far turnover kind of way. So just it's kind of a good mixture of sound in that. So a lot of that very long-winded explanation of where my headspace was really all over the place, and how these developed, and I hope that it translates. I think one other end of it was kind of a spiritual change for me. This is by no means a religious record or even a spiritual one for that matter, but more of one of philosophy and questioning. I struggled with this idea of an afterlife and a deity that I or we as a collective of human beings have to explain ourselves to something that knew the outcome of the whole thing all along, that knew what our actions were going to be or not going to be, or our decisions for that matter. So the title of the record really came out of that question. It's like, what would you tell God if you run into that that thing when you're faced with your judgments, and what do you say? So the contrast of the record and the headspace I was in when I approached Ben was the music itself being a universal language in general, and then Ben's lyrics coming over that music are more or less God and the human experience finding a way to have this conversation with each other in a sonic experience altogether. So.
Wow. Okay. Okay. That makes it. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm processing everything. Okay. Wow. That's okay. Wow. All right. So on a lighter note, I don't know how to. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for your loss. Firstly, I'm sorry about that.
Thank you.
But while listening through the record, what band or artist influences pop out the most to you guys?
Ben, where are you at with lyrical influence?
Everything has been first.
Yeah, I mean, lyrical influences. I don't know. Like, I would hate to say, like, that I like catch myself being like, oh, maybe I'm like drawing from this or that because they're my favorite. But I guess that would make sense, right?
Yeah.
Like, I really love me some Burt McCracken. Like, I love The Used.
I fucking love The Used.
Love The Used.
One of my favorite vocalists, like, ever, lyrically, melodically, like, just a hook lord. You know what I mean?
I completely agree.
Which I would love to be. I would love to be a hook lord. I'd probably also say, like, for some reason the name it's right there, but I can't think of it. But a singer of like Coheed
and Cambria.
Yeah,
I don't know his name. Yeah.
Man, I should know that.
Yeah, I don't know.
We
his
should
name.
all know that.
I thought you were stuck on the band name. You didn't know the second half of it.
Oh yeah. No, I know the band name, but I can't remember his name for some reason. I wish I know it's right there, but I'll think of it here in like a minute.
Claudio
Sanchez. Like, I think, yeah.
There you go.
There you go. Those are just people that I probably, I really enjoy. So I probably just want, I want people to hear that or something. Maybe, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's it.
I had, from an instrumental approach, I draw from a lot of different influences. Deftones is probably bleeding into everything I do musically. I get a lot of from friends about them. Like, their music's not overly complex. That's what I love about it. Is they're more of a tone-seeking band and a texture-seeking band. So, what I love about all of their records, especially everything they've done with producer Terry Date, is it's like a train, and once it gets going, there's this momentum in every song that just keeps the record driving forward. And so I personally try to approach in terms of what you want to consider pop punk, or what we've coined grown ass pop punk is kind of my hashtag these days, but something with a little bit more of a maturation to the sound. I love that approach. I love this idea that you're getting in a vehicle, so to speak, and you're either going to buckle in or you're going to have to bail out of this very fast moving car if you don't like it, which is, always subjective with anything music. So Deftones, Steph Carpenter's, Chino Moreno, Abe Cunningham as a drummer is one of my favorite drummers. And again, not for any technical reasons, but because of his consistency and his intention behind every little thing that he applies to it. So I love that. The story so far, big influence. You're going to hear quite a few digs on this record with them. Yellow Card, really love the pop elements that Ryan Key and Sean Mackin and the rest of the guys used to put in there. And then classic stuff like classic punk rock to me, Strung Out, the No Use for a Names, Propaganda. There's these different guitar tones and elements in there. You're going to hear on one song we have, it's a little bit more of a drivey pop punk song, kind of one of those look in the rear view mirror and leave your hometown behind songs.
Oh, I love those.
Yeah,
so
you'll love
those
that
are
one.
My favorite. Yeah.
That one's got some technical guitar riffage in it that is a little more tucked in. It's not quite on top of the rest of the song, but you listen, you'll hear it and be like, okay, they're really not just writing these simple 4-chord Johnnies. I mean, we are, but there's a little bit more application to it. So, some varied approaches to that as far as where I was writing.
All right.
Solid.
So this question should be super, super quick off the top of your head. I want you to describe the single for new listeners in 3 words, no more, no less. Both of you have to do it.
Fucking badass.
That's good. That's a good one.
That's it. Happy, sad, emo.
All right.
Okay, that's fair. I'll give that to you. So is there a certain feeling or emotion you want your listeners to have while going through the record?
Roller coaster of emotions.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah,
we are on a roller coaster of emotions front car, and we want people to be on the rest of the train with us.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll echo that. I think that's more than reasonable. Also, just going into it, be open. I think having been brought onto this record, his vocal tone is not in any way, shape, or form what you would expect on a typical pop punk album. You don't have that youthful sound of, post high school, post college grad kind of thing. Like I said, I was really seeking out a certain mature sound and or overall sound to this. And Ben has a very intense delivery in his voice, or intense delivery in what he's saying. Some of it getting, really gritty. There's some gravel in his guts. And, I think if people are open to hearing the undertones of everything that we intentionally said in these songs, especially lyrically, you're going to get a slightly different emotional experience to the record versus what you would get off of a typical pop punk album.
All right.
So where do you guys see the band in the next 5 years?
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
We're older. Ben and I spent a lot of our youth in the van seeing this country. We've been very fortunate and blessed to have been in all 48 continental United States and even some other countries with it. And as far as touring and what we're going to be doing professionally or even putting out records, I constantly see us doing music for sure, recording. I hope that what we've done on this EP with so much of the intention and purpose behind it brings some visibility to it by people that are able to help facilitate some opportunity for us in playing some live shows. But as I said, we're older. We're in our mid 30s. It's kind of like we just do this for a lot of fun now. We don't have a label to subscribe to or impress upon and meet these demands that came with what we had before and really writing music for us. So I hope we're able to play some shows, maybe some festivals or some short tours if it turns anything greater than that, then awesome. But definitely continuing to put out music that we're really passionate about and want to reach people with. That's my input on it.
Solid. Anything you want to add, Ben?
I mean, he said it pretty well. Like,
yeah,
it's just gonna keep making music. I'm just having a blast doing that, you know. And if there's this a demand for it, then I'm here to supply. You know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
If people dig the music and it ends up being that it's available, that we can play some shows and have some fun with everybody, I'm on board for it.
Hell yeah.
Solid. I get that. So for these last couple questions, we're actually going to shift away from music, if that's okay with you guys.
Sure.
Sick. So we're going to go straight to death row.
Boom.
So if you're on death row, what would your last meal be with a drink?
It's an interesting question.
It is. Yeah.
That's a pretty profound thing.
It's just a fun way to ask, like, what's your favorite meal, basically.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
We just like to eat.
then,
I'm going through I'm putting through order right now. Like, and I'm just, it's like hard to decide which one's competing for the first spot.
I get that.
What you're saying first.
Well, it's gonna be for me just like Mexican food of some sort.
So true. Yeah.
So if I could just get like a visit to a Mexican buffet place and I could put all of the Mexican food in one plate, that would be my meal. I don't know if that really counts for it, but like
That counts. Yeah.
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 Gotta
You have a
make
drink?
watch that down.
Yeah. Well, what's your drink?
Oh yeah.
oh,
What's your
my
drink?
drink.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would probably go with maybe some like Topo Chico, I guess.
Ooh.
Okay.
Something sugar free, you know, because I gotta worry about the sugar at that point, right?
Sure.
I don't want to go out with the, because of sugar.
Okay.
Rather
That's
the lethal
awesome.
injection.
That's so awesome.
Oh my gosh.
It's kind of like how they sterilize the needle. They sterilize your arm before they inject you with your, you're like worried about all day long.
Exactly.
Like,
Oh
it is
my
so-
God.
Exactly.
Like,
Well, I mean,
so
what if
weird.
it doesn't kill you? Like that's a valid concern. What if you're
Yeah.
like
Yeah, I mean,
a god?
I'm
Then
worried
what?
if I get staph infection on my final moments. That's for sure.
Oh my God.
Two things. This is going to be two polar opposite answers.
Okay.
I just experienced Crossroads Kitchen here in Los Angeles for the first time
Mhm.
a week ago, and I believe Travis Barker is somehow involved in it. But
Oh.
it's a vegan restaurant, but it's like, as far as like the food and the quality of the cuisine, super good. It was such an incredible culinary experience, and so the spicy rigatoni pasta there, I think either that or I gotta shout out my boy Ray over at Ray's Barbecue in Huntington Park. Like, he has award-winning Texas style barbecue in Texas, but it's a native Angelino and is some of the most phenomenal barbecue I've ever had in my life. He's very well acclaimed in the world of barbecue, and I think if I had to go cruelty free, I'm going Crossroads Kitchen. If I had to go with all the animal product, I'm going with Ray's.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and a drink
And you
to
have a
wash
drink
that
with
down.
that.
Root beer.
Okay.
So true.
Virgil's root beer would have to be the going out. Never mind the sugar, never mind any of that. I'm going for it all the way, dude.
All right. So if you could live in one fictional world for a week, where would you live?
One fictional world for a week. I'd probably live in Oz.
Oh, like the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, and hopefully all the characters are there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would assume so. They kind of live there.
Yeah. Yeah. Oz for me.
Okay.
That's good. It's a good choice. We haven't gotten that one. I don't
Not
think.
nearly enough. Not for as
Yeah.
popular as it is.
Well,
Yeah.
Oh, Toy Story.
Yeah.
Nah, you know what? Never mind. I'm gonna renege on that one. It's a good or an attractive concept of a life to live. I'm gonna go with Springfield from The Simpsons. I
Okay,
feel like I could just hang out with everybody on that show as a character.
That's a good call.
My jam. I'm going to Springfield.
That's a good call.
All right.
All right, good choice. So I have the honor of asking the last question. Every single person we've spoken to has actually said it is the most important question. What is your favorite color?
Blue.
Taste.
Well, I don't have a favorite color.
What?
It all depends on what it is. See, I feel like that question should be followed ... or like, what is your favorite color for this thing or this thing, this thing. But when you ask me that, this is what I'm going to give you. You asked me that for some reason, green popped in my head.
Okay.
All right. We'll
Green's
take
a
it.
good color. Yeah. We'll take green.
Because we won't let anybody say I don't have a favorite color, because
Exactly.
that's just
It's
wrong.
banned.
That's the wrong answer.
Mm-hmm.
So as Glory said, that's all the questions we have today. Is there anything that you guys would like to plug?
I'll go a little shameless here. I have a clothing brand called Low Company. It's spelled LAUX company that I started about 12 years ago and recently became fully official. You can follow that at Low Company CA as well. It's also under the Loose Ends brand umbrella, so you can check that out. But it is primarily focused around living a positive and uplifting life. But with a chip on your shoulder, I grew up with a lot of skate rats and punk rockers that were into tattoos and, kind of middle fingers up to the world. And we were constantly told we were nothing but lowlives and we'd never amount to anything.
Wow.
But everybody in my circle and everyone that I knew that was being, lumped into that stereotype were the best people that you could possibly ask for. Shirt off their back, kind of stalled to the earth. And so I altered the spelling to be, instead of LOW and have that negative connotation to it, to be LAUX and give it a little romance and ran with it. So we've been big into production the last 2 years, and I do small batch runs as well. So everything's really limited, but very, very high quality driven, and something that people seem to be very proud to wear out and reflect this idea of the underdog story and coming out of the woodwork to be better. So, and given recent experiences that I shared specifically on this podcast, coming out of dark times, I feel like, and even recent dark times, I think it's important that people find or understand there are communities of people that do give a shit and care a lot about pressing on and being optimistic, even when it doesn't seem like there's a reason to be.
All right. Well, thank you for now. Well, do you have anything?
Cool.
Well, I was just going to throw in there too, because I was just like, I don't really know what to throw in there. But I have like another project. I'm like in a folk band, like folk country kind of thing here back in Texas. And Andy's going to come play drums for that too on the record when it's done, because we've been going back and forth, and thus far the producer is going to be doing the drums, but I'm trying to get Andy to come do it. And I'm here playing with a few of my best friends, and we've actually decided to go ahead and pull the trigger on an EP that we're going to release later in the year called By the Light of Venus, and the band is called Smith and Wesson. So if you're following along with the Loose Ends deal, you can kind of go back and forth, maybe check out that project too if it happened to be into some slow folky country jams.
All right.
Solid.
I love how you guys plugged everything except the band that we were talking about today.
Come on.
Well, and of course we want to talk all about Loose Ends. I think it's awesome, but we're such a complex group of gentlemen that got involved in this, and Ben is one of the most talented songwriters I've ever been fortunate enough to work with. So but yeah, of course, Loose Ends all day. We want to push that, but that's why we got on the conversation with you guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you for having questions ready and being fluid and cohesive with everything. This has been a great interview.
Of course.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank y'all so much. Did we talk about like the video release date too? Like, you got those dates on?
Yeah, we got the music video drops June 11th. We're doing an exclusive premiere with a publication that I haven't, according to my management, our management, I haven't been permitted to say just yet. But on
that
our
means
Instagram,
it's big.
That means it's all press.
we will be announcing that hopefully here in the next day or two, or at least by the end of the week. But look forward to that, because I'm very, very excited for who picked this one up. So.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you for now, those guys. It's been Loose Ends and We're the Good Noise podcast.